You are not unworthy. You are not unlovable. And yet, here you are, begging for attention, begging for affection, begging for someone to stay, begging for a text back, begging for a moment of their time. A word, a look, a whisper that says, I see you. But you don't need to beg. You were never meant to. You were never built to kneel. You were built to rise, to stand, to shine so brightly that love doesn't have to be asked for. It comes running. It finds you. It chooses you. Not because you pleaded, not because you compromised your soul, but because you became someone love can't resist. Someone love doesn't want to leave. Someone love is afraid to lose. So stop begging for love. Stop chasing. Stop shrinking. Stop dimming your light to fit into someone's shadow. Build a life so full, so fierce, so unshakable that when love walks in, it doesn't walk away. It stays. It kneels. It says, I've been looking for you my whole life. This isn't a fantasy. This is your destiny. And today, right now, you begin. You stop begging. You start building. Let me tell you something they never taught you in school. Something no one whispered in your ear when you were crying in the dark, clutching your phone, hoping for a message that never came. Love is not earned through sacrifice. It is not won through silence. It is not secured by giving up who you are. Love is attracted. It is drawn. It is magnetized to energy, your energy, to presence, your presence, to power, your power. When you beg for love, you repel it. You send a signal to the universe that says, I am lacking. I am empty. I need you to complete me. And love, real love, it doesn't want to complete you. It wants to meet you, whole. It wants to stand beside someone who is already standing, someone who doesn't need them to survive, but chooses them to thrive. So why are you still begging? Why are you still on your knees? Look around. Look at your life. Is this the life you dreamed of when you were young? When you believed in magic, in soulmates, in fairy tales that came true? Or did life happen to you? Did heartbreaks chip away at your confidence? Did rejections make you doubt your worth? Did loneliness make you desperate? Did silence from someone you loved make you feel invisible? I know. I've been there. I've stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m., tears soaking my pillow, wondering why I wasn't enough. I've rewritten texts 100 times, trying to sound cool, but not too distant, caring but not too eager. I've waited by the door, hoping they'd come back. I've apologized for things I didn't do just to keep the peace. I've given up my dreams, my time, my peace, all for a love that treated me like an option. And you know what? It didn't work. None of it worked. Because you cannot beg for loyalty. You cannot beg for respect. You cannot beg for someone to value you. Value is not given through pleading. It is commanded through being. So what do? You stop. You stop the begging. You stop the chasing. You stop the sacrificing. And you start building. You build a life so powerful, so magnetic, so full of purpose that love doesn't walk into it casually. It enters with reverence. It enters with awe. It enters knowing it has found something rare, something real, something it cannot afford to lose. That's the kind of love you want. Not the kind that leaves when things get hard. Not the kind that takes you for granted. Not the kind that makes you question your worth every single day. You want the kind of love that fights for you. That chooses you every day. That sees you and says, I would rather lose the world than lose you. But that kind of love doesn't come to beggars. It comes to builders, to those who have already built a kingdom within themselves. So let's talk about what you're really begging for. Because it's not just love, is it? It's validation. It's safety. It's belonging. It's the deep, primal need to be seen, to be known, to be cherished. And that need is not wrong. It's human, but the way you're trying to fulfill it, that's where you've gone off course. You're looking outside yourself for what can only be found within. You think if someone loves you, you'll finally feel worthy, but that's backward. You must feel worthy first. then love comes. Not the other way around. You are not waiting to be loved to become whole. You are already whole. And until you believe that, until you live that, love will always feel out of reach. Because you're not attracting love. You're auditioning for it. And no one wants to be chosen from a lineup of desperate souls. They want to be chosen by someone who doesn't need them, but wants them. That's the difference. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you did something just for you? Not for likes, not for attention, not to impress someone, but because it lit something up inside you, because it made your soul hum, because it reminded you that you are alive. When was the last time you stood in front of the mirror and said, I choose me, I honor me, I fight for me, not tomorrow, not when you lose weight, not when you get that job, not when someone loves you back, now, today, in this moment. Because if you don't choose yourself, no one else will. They'll pick the person who does. They'll walk toward the one who walks with fire in their eyes and certainty in their step. Not the one who whispers, please love me, but the one who declares, I am love. You see, begging for love is not just sad, it's dangerous. It erodes your self-respect. It makes you small. It teaches you that your value is conditional, that you must earn affection, that you must perform, that you must hide your needs, suppress your emotions, and contort yourself into whatever shape the other person desires. And over time, you forget who you are. You become a reflection of their wants, a shadow of their expectations. And one day, you wake up and realize, you don't recognize yourself. You don't know what you like. You don't know what you want. You don't know what makes you come alive, and that is the true tragedy. Not the loneliness, not the heartbreak, but the loss of self. Because once you lose that, no amount of love can save you. So how do you get back to you? How do you rebuild what was broken? How do you stop begging and start becoming? It starts with a decision. A fierce, unshakable, non-negotiable decision. I will no longer beg for love. I will build a life so extraordinary that love begs to stay. That's your new mantra. Say it with me. I will no longer beg for love. I will build a life so extraordinary that love begs to stay. Again, louder. I will no longer beg for love. I will build a life so extraordinary that love begs to stay. One more time, this time from your soul. I will no longer beg for love. I will build a life so extraordinary that love begs to stay. Feel that. That's your power returning. That's your spine straightening. That's your heart remembering its rhythm. Now, let's build. Let's lay the foundation. The first brick is self-worth, not fake confidence, not bravado, but deep, unshakable knowing that you are enough. Just as you are, right now. With your scars, with your past, with your fears, with your flaws, you are enough, not because someone said so, not because you achieved something, not because you look a certain way, but because you exist, because you breathe, because you are a miracle of stardust and soul. You are not a project to be fixed. You are a masterpiece in motion. And until you believe that, until you live that, no one else will either. So start here. Look in the mirror. Place your hand on your heart and say, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of respect. I am worthy of a life that sets my soul on fire. Say it until you believe it. Say it until it's written in your bones. The second brick is purpose. You cannot build a life that love can't walk away from without knowing why you're here. What's your mission? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes your heart race with excitement? What problem in the world do you want to solve? What pain do you want to heal? What beauty do you want to create? Purpose is the anchor. It's what keeps you grounded when storms come. It's what gives your life meaning when love disappoints. Without purpose, you become a love seeker. With purpose, you become a love magnet. Because people are drawn to those who are on fire, who are moving, who are building, who are becoming. So ask yourself, what is my purpose? If you don't know, that's okay. Start exploring, try things, fail, learn, grow. But don't stop, because your purpose isn't just about you. It's about your legacy. It's about the mark you leave on this world. And when you live with purpose, love doesn't just walk into your life, it bows. The third brick is growth. You cannot build a life that love can't walk away from if you're standing still. You must grow. Every single day, not to impress anyone, not to be better than others, but because your soul demands expansion. You were not made to shrink, you were made to stretch, to reach, to evolve. So read books, take courses, travel, meet new people, challenge your beliefs, step into discomfort, do the things that scare you, because growth is not comfortable, it's not safe, it's not easy, but it's necessary. And every time you grow, you become more of who you're meant to be. And who you're meant to be, that's the person love can't resist. The fourth brick is boundaries. This is where most people fail. They want love that stays, but they allow everything that drives it away. They tolerate disrespect. They accept crumbs. They stay when they should leave. They say yes when they mean no. They give when they're empty. And then they wonder why love walks. But love doesn't stay where it's not valued. It doesn't stay where it's taken for granted. It doesn't stay where there are no boundaries, so set them. Clear, firm, unapologetic. Say no to what drains you. Walk away from what diminishes you. Protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. Because your energy is your power. And when you protect it, you command respect. And when you command respect, love doesn't beg to leave, it begs to stay. The fifth brick is joy. Not happiness, joy. Happiness depends on circumstances. Joy comes from within. It's the deep, unshakable peace that you are exactly where you're meant to be. Even in pain, even in loss, even in struggle. Joy is choosing to see the light even when you're in the dark. Joy is dancing in the rain. Joy is laughing at your own jokes when no one else is around. Joy is finding beauty in the small things, a sunset, a song, a warm cup of coffee. Joy is not the absence of pain, it's the presence of gratitude. And when you cultivate joy, you become irresistible. Because who wouldn't want to be around someone who radiates light? Who wouldn't want to love someone who makes life feel like a celebration? The sixth brick is independence. Not isolation, not loneliness, but independence. The ability to stand on your own 2 feet, to make your own decisions, to support yourself, to find peace in your own company. Because if you can't be happy alone, you will never be happy with someone. You'll always be looking to them to fill the emptiness inside you, and that's a burden no one can carry. So learn to love your own company. Spend time alone. Go on dates with yourself. Travel solo. Eat dinner by candlelight, just you. Learn to enjoy your own thoughts, your own dreams, your own silence. Because when you are truly comfortable alone, you stop needing someone to complete you. And when you stop needing, you start choosing. And that's when real love begins. Now, let's talk about what happens when you start building this life. Because it's not easy. There will be days when you want to go back. Days when you're lonely. Days when you miss them. Days when you wonder if it's worth it. Days when you almost pick up the phone. Days when you almost beg. But you won't. Because you've made a decision. A sacred vow to yourself. And every time you're tempted to beg, you remember, I am not a beggar, I am a builder. And you go back to your work. You write that book. You launch that business. You go to therapy. You take that trip. You say no. You walk away. You show up for yourself. And slowly, brick by brick, your life transforms. And then, something shifts. People start noticing. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you're glowing, because you're alive, because you're no longer chasing, you're becoming. And love, real love, it starts to show up. Not the kind that plays games. Not the kind that disappears, but the kind that shows up consistently. That communicates, that respects you, that values you, that sees you, and loves you. not despite your strength, but because of it. And when that love comes, you don't beg for it to stay. You simply say, "Welcome. I've been building a life for us." And they look around, and they see a home, a sanctuary, a life so full of passion, purpose, and peace that they can't imagine leaving. Because they don't want to. Because they've found what they've been searching for. Not in you, but in the life you've built together. But here's the truth: even if that love never comes, you win. Because you've built a life worth living. A life that doesn't depend on someone else's presence to feel meaningful. A life where you are the hero of your own story. Where you are the source of your own joy. Where you are the keeper of your own worth. And that is freedom. That is power. That is the ultimate victory. So let me ask you again, why are you still begging? Why are you still waiting for someone to save you? You are the savior. You are the hero. You are the miracle. Stop pleading. Stop shrinking. Stand up. Look in the mirror and say, "I am done begging for love. I am building a life they can't walk away from." Say it until your voice shakes with power. Say it until your tears turn into fire. Say it until it's the only truth you know. And then, start building. Today, right now, not tomorrow, not when you're ready. Now. Because every second you spend begging is a second you could be building. Every tear you cry over someone who doesn't value you is a drop of energy that could be fueling your dreams. Every hour you waste hoping they'll change is an hour you'll never get back. So stop, redirect, reclaim. Your life is not a waiting room for love. It is a cathedral of possibility, and you are the architect. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. I know the fear of being alone feels like a monster in your chest. But I also know this: the greatest love story you will ever live is the one between you and yourself. When you fall in love with your own courage, when you admire your own resilience, when you celebrate your own growth, when you choose yourself, again and again and again, that is the love that changes everything. That is the love that makes you untouchable. That is the love that builds a life no one can walk away from. So go build, create, rise, shine, become, and when love finally walks in, don't beg it to stay. Let your life do the talking. Let your energy speak. Let your presence command. Let your boundaries protect. Let your joy radiate. Let your purpose inspire. Let your independence empower. And let your self-worth shine so bright that love has no choice but to stay. Because it has found home, not in you, but in the life you've built. And that, my friend, that is the ultimate victory. You are not broken. You are not unworthy. You are not unlovable. You are a force, a fire, a revolution. And the world is waiting for the life you're about to build. So stop begging. Start building. And watch as love comes running. Not because you asked, but because you became.